Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us in this edition of your favorite program, Facts and Realities of Education. In this program, we discuss issues concerning education and the well-being of all stakeholders involved in education. We are barely 2 weeks into the new academic year, and like an English adage says, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So if the academic year is on course, we need to prepare if we intend to succeed. That is why in this edition of the program, we'll be talking about creating conditions necessary for students' success. In other words, what should we do to make sure that our students, our kids, succeed? And with us in the studio, we have a pedagogue who would help us, enlighten us on what we have to do, on what the educational family stakeholders have to do to make sure that at the end of this academic year, we will talk of having succeeded in achieving our goals. With us in the studio, we have a pedagogue, Ms. Kwena Rotalin. I hope I have the name well. Good evening, madam, and thank you for joining us in this program.
Good evening, Mr. Mange. Thank you for having me.
It is the first time we're having her on set, and we think that regularly she would be part of the show.
Why not?
Thank God.
I love that.
Thank God. So tonight we are talking about creating conditions for the students' success. As a pedagogue, we want to find out from you so that you help our viewers come to terms with what they should do or understand their role, what they should do in order to succeed. So what we talk of students succeeding? Students succeeding. What do we mean?
Very good. We have set objectives for, I prefer to use the word learners. Mm-hmm. Learners because we have the kids, the pupils, the students.
Yeah. I think that's the right term.
Very good. I prefer to use the word learners. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the year, academically, there are set objectives for them. Mm-hmm. And if those objectives are attained by the end of the year, then we will say we have succeeded. That
we have succeeded. And in order to attain these objectives, we need these conditions, like we are saying in our theme for discussion tonight, conditions are necessary for students or for learners' success, if we adopt that term. What are these conditions?
That's a very good question. We are talking about learners' success.
Yes.
So it means that whatever we do should place the learners at the center. Very important. And if we have to do so, it means the instructor's role has to change from just being a teacher to a facilitator. Okay,
is it in relation to this new pedagogical approach where the teacher is no longer the know-all kind of individual?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the point. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Because that's how you and I were taught.
Yes.
The teacher
you just
was an all-knowing person.
You just come sit down, the teacher pour.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And if you don't make it, you are the dull child. But that's not true. We need to know that no learner is dull. There is no dull learner. On the contrary, there is a bad teacher.
Okay.
Good. So now the question is,
I hope that teachers get it. That if my child fails, you are the bad teacher.
Exactly. So how do we place the learner at the center of the educational experience? That's what I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. The first thing is to know your learners. Mm-hmm. It's very important to know them. And what does it mean to know them? We learn differently. As I said, we have different learning styles. Mm-hmm. We have children who learn best when they have visual aids. We have children who learn best because they touch the things. Mm-hmm. We have auditory learners. So if the teacher comes every day in front of the classroom and then pours information, what happens to the children who have to work on the things and learn?
Actually.
So we realize that in our time, most of those children will fall out of school and probably be the bricklayers and the carpenters. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of intelligence for someone to be a carpenter, to build a very beautiful piece, or a bricklayer.
No, I'm not cutting you short, because the impression they gave us was those who went to technical schools were those who failed. That is the common entrance. Those who passed in List B were those who were going to technical schools.
Exactly.
The List A guys were those who were going to government schools. So it was as if bright students go to government schools, and then dull students, they go to technical schools.
That's how we're made to think.
Actually.
But that's not a fact, because like I said, we have different ways of learning. Mm-hmm. So one way to create a condition that will ensure that the learners succeed is adapting our teaching style to the learning styles of the people that we are teaching. It is very, very important. Another thing we want to do is we create the environment for learning.
Okay, before creating the environment for learning, we talk of knowing your learners.
Yes, sir.
At the beginning of the academic year now, teachers are certainly carrying out what they call diagnostic evaluation, so that they situate each child where the child belongs.
Beautiful.
Okay.
That's exactly what is required. I was about to come to that when I'll be talking about the advice I give to teachers.
Okay, all right.
But since you've brought it up, let's talk about it. You know, the first week of school should be centered on having a diagnostic test with the children. It's very important to know them. And the test should be structured in a way that you will be able to get the different types of learners, their likes, their dislikes from the exam you've given to them. And that gives you an understanding of how the children learn. And that helps you to adapt your teaching methods to suit that from the weeks on. Yes, it's very, very important. I have tried that, and it works so well. I would even say that in one of the experiences I had, one of the children made me understand that math is not one of his subjects. But then it's very important for him to love math. I'm very passionate about it, so I wouldn't teach a child who does not love math. And so I came up with ways to make him enjoy it, and I succeeded. I thought of calling the math a math breakfast, because usually math is the first thing that we do in the morning.
Normally, yes.
So I asked them, what do you want us to eat today? And they said, probably hamburger with a glass of milk. I said, okay, let's draw it. So they have beautiful pages colored with hamburgers, pizza, whatever they want to eat. And then it just tells them to go every day to their math book and solve. And that's how he fell in love with the subject. So it's very important to do that at the beginning.
To trigger a kind of liking to that child.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very important.
Okay, you are talking of creating a environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
The learning
environment, yes.
Because it's one thing, I have identified you. I know very well that you learn best using visual aids. But then the environment that we are learning in, does it make it very easy for you to learn? That's a question. And when we talk about the environment, it brings many things to consideration, not just the physical space. It also involves the guidelines that I give to you in class. Are they clear enough? Do they help you to work independently? Or you always depend on the teacher? The moment the teacher is out, you're like, oh, please, I don't know. No, you have to create clear guidelines to the children. And you have to design the space that makes you to be equidistant to each of the children. And it's recommended, depending on the type of lesson, you could have a U shape in the classroom. In that way, you get into the U, and then you can easily, interact with any of the children. And we do not recommend that the classroom always stays the same. You can always change the setting of the classroom depending on what you teach. And who says you must always teach in the classroom?
Okay.
So you can flip the classroom. You can take the children out sometimes.
Yes.
For example, the government has introduced vocational studies into the curriculum, and most of it is supposed to be practical. But I tell you, we have many schools, many teachers who still do that in the classroom. So if you're learning about farming, why don't you take the children to the farm? When they go to the farm, they will learn by doing the things. And it sticks better than if we're just to copy the notes on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have talked about knowing the students so that you understand their learning styles. We have talked about adapting your teaching methods to suit the learning styles. And now we have just talked about creating the environment that is suitable for learning. I
think we have some elements with the help of our technicians to illustrate these things. You need to have children actually doing these things. Exactly. But when we're talking of creating, environment, a conducive environment for learning, what was coming to my mind is we are in Douala. And the number of schools that we have, the sizes, the classroom that we have, the number of, the enrollment of the children that we have in each class. Is it possible for this, given the condition that we have in Douala?
Well, I think personally that planning can help. And also the philosophy of the owners of the school, because I mean, some people use schooling as my husband will say it's a scam. You know, people just want
as
to.
a business.
I'm sorry, yeah, as a
no,
business.
No, it's not a
yeah.
question of this. This program is facts and
And
realities.
realities.
So we
Okay.
face facts that concern education.
Exactly.
Yes.
So because I want to make more money, I don't mind how many pupils.
And
or
that is the
children I
reality
put
that
in
we
the
have here in
classroom.
Douala.
It's not supposed to be like that. So we have to keep a class size that is reasonable enough to achieve the objectives. If we really want these future leaders of tomorrow to do something that we'll be proud of, then we have to lay the foundation now. And there is no way we can do that if we fill the class with 100 of them and have just one or two of the facilitators to work with them. Then we will not be able to achieve what we want. And then we are not saying we would have created the conditions for success. So what I would recommend is it's either you break the class size, probably you can have a class 1A, B, C, whatever, to reduce the class size, or you actually have a cutoff number of children you recruit into your school. Because where I work, that's how we do. We make sure
Yes,
that
you have a limit.
we have a limit.
To tell parents that, sorry, we cannot receive
Exactly.
a child. This is rare in Douala
Exactly.
because
So we actually have a size in the room that is just enough for a set number of children. Yes, that's very important. And that shows the difference in our philosophy of education.
so like we are telling educational promoters to think of the well-being of these children,
Exactly.
not only go for money benefit.
Thank you.
Okay, now when you were talking of, I was like thinking, we should have very few schools in Douala here that will be able to have 2 facilitators in a class, because we scarcely have that.
Yeah.
We have a teacher to, I'm sorry to say, 100 students, 100 learners.
That's not fair to the learners. It's not fair to them.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are schools, they may be few, but there are schools that actually have a main teacher and an assistant teacher to make sure that, when the main teacher or the facilitator is working with a group of children, then the others are taken care of by the assistant to ensure that the classroom management is very effective.
Okay, now we are looking at those conditions to create. We are talking of knowing your learners, creating a conducive environment to make sure that the children study in an acceptable pedagogic conditions.
Right.
Okay, as a pedagogue, how do you help teachers to ensure they create these conditions?
Well, I have been privileged to work in many different schools in this town, in this city. And in those schools, I have organized training sessions for teachers for at least 2 weeks before school reopens. So that has given me the opportunity to work with more than a score of teachers, training them on how to be better in the classrooms. And where I work right now at Dundee Educational Center, I am privileged to have met these people who have the same educational philosophy that I have. So before I got there, they had already instituted a tradition whereby 2 weeks into school reopening, they have an in-service training with their teachers.
Okay.
And they always look up to the Cambridge Educational Board because every year the Cambridge Board organizes training sessions for their teachers. So the theme for the year, and then they build on the theme based on the context that we find ourselves in. So this year I was privileged also to work on that program. So I worked with my collaborators and we organized this training session. So that's what gave me the inspiration about this topic. If we have learned about how to create conditions for success, why not share it with
Because there are
with
others who do not even know it.
I tell you, in this city, we have schools that teachers just get in and resume without having a training session. And even if the teachers have to resume before the day of school reopening, it is just maybe to share flyers or to help with the registration process. But nothing is done to prepare the teachers for the learners who are coming in.
Okay, like are these such seminars, are they restricted to the schools you are, or they are open to the public?
Well, that depends on the set school. But in cases where I have worked, it is open to the public. So it's part of the recruiting process, we can say that. In one of the schools where I worked, we actually opened it to the public. When you drop in your You drop in your document, you are reviewed, you are interviewed, and you can be invited. Yeah. So you go through that training, and if by the end of it you demonstrate that you were able to learn something and you're able to practice that, you are retained.
Okay. Now, are you available for other schools, maybe proprietors who are watching us, who can contact you so that you can give such kind of training to their teachers? Is it possible?
Well,
no, not necessarily this year,
okay.
Maybe subsequently.
In the future, yes, in the future. Because right now, I work with a particular school, so I have to be very loyal to them.
Actually.
But when the government organizes seminars for teachers, we are usually being used during those seminars. So we use those opportunities to help a larger audience of teachers.
And maybe during break, first term, second term.
Exactly.
Yes, you can be available to.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that school proprietors who are watching us, yes, you can get to Mrs. Quina Rotalin if she would assist your schools to grow. Okay, when we're talking about conditions necessary, in planning this program, we decided to talk about discipline.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we wanted to see the place discipline plays in success. And at the beginning of the academic year, we made a paper on this issue of discipline to look at necessary, disciplinary measures that have been taken by schools in the city of Douala to make sure that the academic year runs on smoothly. We had that paper was written for us by Nda Vanessa Shuyong. Let's have that paper.
Ensuring an effective back to school is one thing and a hit-free academic year is another. Schools being one of the institutions to harbor drug consumption and white weapons is not a time to mislead disciplinary measures. Authorities of some government schools and colleges have ways to enforce discipline that are already functional.
A problem of discipline. After that problem, we sat down and reinforced the security. We have blocked off the hole that the student dug around the fence. We have carried the fence up. We have recruited some GROBRA to help us in discipline.
Here is to enter classrooms when we want to check what the students have in their bags. And when we open those bags, we check whether there is a telephone, but because the telephone is forbidden in a classroom, if they have drugs and so on.
The government bilingual high school Deido, after the scandal of March 2019, now has a new look, a change of uniforms, low cuts for all, and cleanliness in the inside out.
Because all the schools around are wearing the same uniform, a student from a different school could jump and enter the school and do something without us knowing who has done it. Now, if you are not our student, you cannot enter. We decided with the parents, we held a meeting and decided to change the uniform. We went to SICAM and we made a command.
During the governor's visit on September 2nd to launch the academic year in Douala, he clearly stated that severe sanctions will be for students who go against the school rules and regulations.
The governor of the Littoral region, who came yesterday, who launched the school academic year in my school, he was clear that all those that will be caught will be dismissed and will be taken to no other school in his region. It is clear. Discipline must reign.
Success can only be achieved through discipline, says the principal of Deido. Teachers alone cannot accomplish the task if parents do not play the primary role.
An appeal to parents that they should help us educate these children. They have 2, 3 at home. They are not able of doing it when we have thousands in schools. Please, parents, help us to help you by checking your children at home before sending them to us.
No to violence in school premises, no to the consumption of drugs, just to name but these are among other crucial measures developed by some schools to ensure a calm and serene environment for studies.
So there can be no discipline, no success without discipline. How do you evaluate that paper?
I am in 100%.
Good.
Yes, it's very important.
Good. So if we have to look at, we are talking about creating conditions necessary for learners' success. What advice would you have for head teachers who begin in that role? Head teachers, if you were to talk to them, head teachers, what will you tell them to do in order to, attain their objectives by the end of the year?
Okay. The first thing, I always say this, that the only place where you have success before work is in the dictionary. Because the S words come before the W words.
Okay.
That's the only place where you have success before work. But in real life,
you have
hard work before
success.
So people do not want to leave their comfort zones. People don't want to work. They just want the money. But I tell head teachers, fold your sleeves and work. So at the beginning, make a plan for your teachers. Think about their personal, their professional growth, their development, and the children. What do you want them to give to the children? Design a plan, a training plan for them. It could start at the beginning, but there should be an ongoing one as well. Like now, I had 2-week training session with the teachers, but I have not ended there. When I went into the classrooms, I noticed the difficulties some teachers have.
Actually,
I came up with something else. I said, okay, after the diagnostic test, you have to set objectives for each of the children. Now you know them. So what do you want this child to get in math, for example? A is not the same as B. They may have different levels, even though they're in the same class. So set objectives for them and work to get to those, to reach them. And I didn't say do. I took the time, designed a sample, and then gave to them, so that no one gives an excuse and say, I don't know how to do. No.
Yes.
So that's what we have to do. We have to work.
Head teachers.
To make sure that the teachers or the facilitators are ready to give to what the children will need.
That's a task. And I would think that that's another way of, pulling out, because the concept we have in Douala here is teaching is another way. Once you cannot have anything doing, you fall into teaching. So this is another way of taking out those who want to teach just to earn a living from those who want to teach as a vocation.
Exactly. I don't care to know the reason why you got into teaching.
But once you are there,
you
do it. All right. In Latin, they say there's a proverb that says, "Nemo dat quod non habet." That is, you cannot give what you don't have. And hope these teachers need to take it so that they can be able to give. Now, to teachers now.
Okay, so to teachers, when you have those head teachers who have worked very hard to come up with sessions to train you, first of all, make yourself available. And then second of all, make sure you implement what you learn. Because the tendency, the shank thing in Douala, people have like 10 different classes.
Correct.
So you are rushing to leave so that you can teach
catch up somewhere.
And then you forget about the children that you have in your hands. So please, can you just spare some minutes? Because I know the head teachers will not also be very crazy to say training sessions every day. If it's too much, it's going to be once a week. So can you just give some time for that? Receive the training, implement it. You definitely see the results.
Okay, those are for teachers.
Yes.
Now let's take students or the learners. These are you do the coaching and you let them do the work. What do you do? What would you tell these learners?
Very good. For the learners, that's where discipline comes in. I do a lot of motivational talking to them. For example, I went into one of the classrooms and the child was like, this is boring, talking about geography. This is very boring. I have to copy a lot of notes. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I came into the class and said, I think some of you would enjoy taking breast milk. And you're like, no, we're not allowed to take breast milk. It's okay. One of the characteristics of a living thing is growth.
Yes.
You have to grow.
Yes.
When you were a baby, you took breast milk. You are grown. You are no longer a baby. So do you drink breast milk? No, we don't. You eat, you chew plantain. So the same. When you were in the nursery, the kind of ways you received instructions from your teachers will have to change.
Literally.
So be ready. Be ready to receive the change and work very hard and be disciplined. And it starts with self, and then work towards getting it right.
Okay. Now, when we had that report there by Vanessa Shuyong, there was something she indicated that discipline, success must go with the role to be played by parents. Even to that principal of GBHS, Daido, she was really pleading on parents to help them so that they could carry out their duty. Now I want to find out the role parents have to play in relation to attaining the goals that we set for our kids?
It's a very important role. In fact, in the pedagogic triangle, you have the parents, the administration, and the teachers. So it's very, very important that parents be involved. And there are 3 ways I can say that. First, from home, they have to be very supportive. I came up with something I call the homework policy. So I have a particular notebook for the children to use. In that notebook, you state all of the homework assignments that you have received.
Who's that? The parent or
the learners?
Yes.
They state down from the class. Okay, I received one in math, I received one in chemistry, I received one in science, for example. And I expect the parents to place their signature on each of those subjects to confirm that, yes, my child did it. So it's supposed to be from home and from school.
Do you liaise with the parents?
We have to. It's very important.
Okay.
And if there's any parent listening to us who does not have the contact numbers of the administration and the teachers who teach their children, please do so. It's very, very important. So support from home. And like I said earlier, we get the children we flip classrooms, we get the children to do hands-on activities. So it means that sometimes we might need support from the parents to take the children out of the school. Probably they need to get the costumes that will fit that situation. So parents give us the support. Now the next thing is involvement. There are times I've organized reading sessions to improve on the reading culture of our country. And I have parents coming in to read to the children. So let's say you are a father, you have a year 2 child. So you come into the class of year 2, you read a story. You can role play certain parts in the story. You can ask the children to think of another ending in that story. So it makes the children proud that, wow, my mom, my dad is here. And they are excited to learn. So they have to be very involved. And one thing also, parents need to learn to say the truth about their children. Sometimes the children come, they have a condition, but the parents don't tell
expose
us.
them.
And so it's very difficult for us to help if they don't. And thirdly, the parents should give us feedback. It's very important. Tell us how you like it. Tell us how you are concerned. And that will help us to see where we can improve or where we can continue working with the children. So these 3 ways.
And when you say so, I kind of feel guilty because just this morning I got to my son got up and said, Papa, my homework was not done. When I was opening, behold, yesterday is well written on it, homework not done. Which means if I had followed up, I would have really actually, so when you started saying, I said, no, this is really...
Please, you have to change.
Actually, that's now we are gradually running out of time, and if you have to talk to, we were saying that conditions in Douala are so Douala is a type on its own, yes, and when we bring these concepts to apply them in Douala, because there are schools without even playgrounds, schools, yes. Now, what would you tell proprietors, school, promoters, yes, to develop this kind of culture in which they should place their learners at the front, that is the interest of their learners before every other profit that may come from the business itself or from the educational enterprise. I don't want to call it business.
Sure. Well, what I would say would sound a little different. I have a belief in business, and I believe that the business you thrive in is a business that you are attempting to solve a problem.
Okay.
So each time I want to start up a business, I ask myself, what
am I doing?
Do I
what
want
is the
to
problematic
solve?
here?
Exactly. So if you are just multiplying schools because we see schools coming up, if you're just doing it for a business, you are not ready to solve a problem, please shut it. That's what I would say. But if you are there because you really want to solve a problem, contact experts who can help you, because some people really want to solve a problem, but they do not know how to do it. Contact experts and ask their help on how you can get it right. And if you know how to do the right thing and you're not doing it because you want to make money, I'm sorry, I'm going to come for you. Yeah, there are some people who actually know the right thing to do, yet they do not do it.
Okay.
So please get it done rightly.
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you in this edition, and we would have wished that the time would have been, doubled so that we could really explore this, because it is actually very important if we intend to let our children have what we want for them, to let our children succeed in achieving the targets we all have for them as parent. It is on that note that we are coming to the end of this edition of the program, and Madam, we're so grateful that you took off time to help us discuss this issue of helping our kids, our learners to succeed. We hope when we would knock at your doors next time, you will be ready to give us a helping hand.
For sure, always. Sharing is caring. I care for everyone, so I share.
Thank you so much. Keep watching programs here on DBS Television. Next week, we'll be around again for another edition of the program. Until then, goodbye. Goodbye, madam.
Goodbye, sir.
Thank you.